So, hello everyone. Um, Today we have with us an amazing lady. I mean, I just love her, and I'm sure all the parents who will be listening to this video, you all love her. We all already know her, but still, I will introduce you all to Dr. Swati Popat Vats. She is a distinguished educator and early childhood expert. She is the president of Podar Education Network and founder of Born Smart. She has revolutionized early childhood education in India, and with over 3 decades of experience, her advocacy for child rights and innovative learning approaches, she has earned her international acclaim. And without further ado, I want to introduce you to Dr. Swati Popat Vats. Thank you so much for, accepting my invite and coming and talking to us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's such a pleasure because I'm a huge fan of yours for the
Oh,
wonderful work
thank
that you are
you.
doing in ensuring that children get all kinds of education.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. That coming that from you is like, wow.
I mean,
Thank you so much. So, ma'am, tell us something. You always talk about fun education. Like, learning has to be fun. So, how do you define fun learning? What is fun learning?
so there are three things that define for fun learning. Number one is it engaging, which means is it going to keep the child engaged in it, involved? Only then will focus and attention happen. Number two, is it child directed, which means is the child going to feel interested in taking the activity ahead? And number three is the activity going to motivate the child to complete it? Because you will notice that many of the activities children leave incomplete, and
Yes.
parents say that my child is not able to carry a task forward. They begin a task but they're not able to end a task.
Right.
So anything which is fun has these three elements in it. Usually when we talk about fun learning, we always say, oh, it has to be enjoyable, or it has to bring a smile on a child's face, or these are all very very upper wale terms which
Superficial,
don't
all over.
very superficial. They don't actually tell you as a teacher or as a parent what to look for in that activity. So
Right.
it is very very important that we don't just make it trivialize the term fun learning or learning with fun. I think fun is a word which is not associated with learning in our vocabulary. We think of fun as something to do when you are too you worked very hard, so then you take a fun break, something
Yeah.
like that.
Right.
But actually fun is a part of your brain development. Your right brain, which is what develops first, only learns through songs, games and stories, and your right brain is in charge of long term memory. So put the two together now. Anything that I learn through fun, it will go in my long term memory. You won't have to teach me again and again.
Right.
So it's very simple if we just normalize the word fun and understand it in the context of a child's development.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so important. So, for us parents to understand, like, uh, okay, so I have understood that what is fun learning, but how do I implement it as a parent in my home for my children, or as a teacher in my classroom? How do we implement it?
So, number one, most importantly, I would urge parents because I am very much in favor of changing the way we teach our children.
Right.
So, it is very important for today's parent to become that voice to schools about changing the way children are learning in the classrooms. We are still making children learn in a sedentary way. We make them
Right.
sit for 6 hours in school.
Right.
We may have, if we are very happy with ourselves, we give them a sports period which we call extracurricular. And if we are very happy with ourselves, we give them a break for lunch and snacks. But otherwise they are just sitting. Now think of it, here is a growing body, and we don't give them any movement. And movement is what is geared with your brain. So, which means the more sedentary I am, my brain is not involved. It's not fun. So it's very, very important for parents and teachers to keep two things in mind: sitting after standing after sitting, sitting after standing, which means any activity that you did with your child for 20 minutes, which was a sitting activity, please give a break with a standing activity, which means a movement activity. And
Right.
quiet after noise or voice. And interchange this. So if it was a quiet activity, you were giving them a worksheet, and let them talk, let them make a noise. So you need to give them something which is commonly called brain breaks. So
Right.
the brain requires a break. Otherwise, the brain becomes bored, the brain becomes frustrated, and the brain stops learning. It's as simple as that. So
Right.
it's very, very important that when we say fun, the minute you will make a child stand up and jump, even do a simple activity like jump, you will notice they will start laughing, talking.
Yes.
Suddenly, the voice level in the classroom goes up, and the energy levels go up, and suddenly they are all giggling and laughing, and then they settle down. But most teachers and parents are afraid of this because they feel that they will lose the attention of the children,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then to get their attention back will become a huge task.
Right.
So it's because I feel, Amruta, B.Ed, which is supposed to be a teacher training program for teachers, I'm a B.Ed, doesn't actually prepare you or teach you about these things, which is a very
Right.
sad reality.
Right.
It actually should be teaching us about these aspects of classroom education or parent education. And I
Ab-
always tell teachers, your job is not just to teach the child, your job is to teach the parent. So unless you don't teach the
So true.
parent, how do you expect the same practices to be done at home? So I recently wrote a parent handbook for Burlington. They are a group of publishers, and they came out with this wonderful series for early childhood.
Wow.
And they said we want a parent handbook, and I was quite tickled by that. That, oh wow, you want a parent handbook. So, and when we came out with the parent handbook, most of the principals appreciated it.
Right.
That this is nice. Now the parents will know why we are doing what we are doing,
Correct.
and parents appreciated it. That now we, don't keep us out of the learning um, uh, and cycle.
Correct.
We are parents of the children, so please
Right.
tell us
Yes.
what is right, what is wrong, and what can we do. So
Right.
even if parents do these two simple things even at home,
Right.
uh, and the third thing which I said is run away from all these age old practices. If you have you seen these worksheets, Amruta, that schools give, where a child is supposed to write something 30 times.
Oh my
And
God.
I mean, look at it. Today, as an adult, if I tell you to write your own name 30 times, you won't be able to write it more than 5 times without getting bored.
Absolutely.
And here we are putting this stupid pressure on children, and at any age we are giving them such boring activities
True.
that today's child, who's actually growing up in a technological world, is not interested in these boring repetitive drill exercises.
Right.
So I
Right.
feel we should call out, as parents and teachers, we should call out all these activities and remove them from the curriculum.
Absolutely. So, two words you mentioned right now. Uh, I loved the way you explained what is fun learning and how to go about it, quiet and noise, the alterations, or standing and sitting, the alterations. I just loved it. It's so simple, in simple way. So I think any parent can practice it. Now, two words you used.
Anyone can practice.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one was boredom, and second is technology. You used in another context, but I would like to ask you. Um, Yuval Noah Harari, interestingly, in his latest book, also he mentioned that now people need to be boring. We need more boring people. We need boring politicians, and it is okay to be bored, and we need to normalize boredom. What are your thoughts on it? And because kids always come to us and they go like, "I'm bored," and then mothers or parents get
Hmm.
stressed, like, "What to do?" But I think it's okay, right, to be
Yeah.
bored. So what are your thoughts on
So
this?
there are two kinds of boredom. One is where you bore me to tears. okay, with what you are making me go through.
Correct.
So I would want a better word for it, but actually it's referred to as boredom. And we tend to do that to children. And the other is when you are bored because you have nothing to do. Now, that is a very good kind of a boredom, because when you let your child feel that boredom, creativity seeps in. So you will realize that when your child has nothing in their hands and you are waiting at the, say, at the doctor's clinic, and there is nothing for your child to do, don't give a mobile phone in your child's hand. Now let your child find out how to take care of this lack of activity that your child is going through. So you are giving your child two rules, that you cannot hurt anybody or cannot hurt anything here. Okay, but apart from that, find something to do for yourself. So if you have given boundaries to your children, they will now start thinking of what to do. Sometimes, what happens is when our children are bored, we try to overcome that boredom by too much of activity, and we supply them with activities. And that's why their brains have kind of gone into that bored to tears kind of a level. Parents carry a host of activities with them, crosswords and this and that. Bacha bore hoga to main de dungi. Sometimes let them think, let their brains think,
Correct.
because that's is the only way creativity will come out. And even
Yes.
if they are making a mistake, or if you find them at risk, that my child was climbing, so it's fine. Sometimes it's better if they learn, and then you guide them and you scaffold them and say, this is not something that we can do right now, because this will happen.
Right.
But I liked your choice, but it's not suitable for the present circumstances.
Correct.
So they feel that, okay, I was not outright rejected, but there was a reason why presently my idea is not workable. So as parents, we need to understand both these kinds of boredoms.
Right.
A teacher droning on and on and on in the class is bored to tears.
Yeah.
And and for that also, children come out with creative solutions. they start do they start doodling in their notebook, or they start looking
Absolutely.
out the window, or they go below the desk and they start whispering to each other.
Correct.
So boredom actually is the other side of creativity. Both are
Definitely.
the two sides of the same coin.
Wow. Wow. You explained it so beautifully. So, I mean, now even I should be more bored more often, to think
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it.
I love to be bored, because I feel when I am bored, and my husband always tells me, I watch the silliest crap on OTT. Not the ones which have these bad words and all, but I watch the silliest crap on OTT. So my husband says, why do you watch this kind of rubbish? It's so boring. I said, because my mind switches off and I start thinking of ideas. So I need my mind to get bored of some content that I'm watching or listening to, and then my mind switches on to a creative mode. So
Wow.
well, each one has their own boredom plateau.
Absolutely. Amazing. That's like a super takeaway for today, I think. Uh, ma'am, you also mentioned that do not hand over the mobile. So that
Yeah.
brings us to the technology part. Now, these kids, these babies are born with mobiles, I think so. They are born with the gadgets. They are the gadget babies. So many a times parents have this thing in their mind that how do we keep them away from gadgets, or how do we not let them get distracted with it, or how do we monitor it, and all those things. So what are your thoughts on this?
Simple. You cannot keep children away from technology. All
Right.
those parents who tell me, मैंने तो mobile phone कभी दिया ही नहीं है, actually you are harming your child, because
Correct.
when your child will get that freedom, your child won't know what to do with it. So
Right.
balance is something that parents today need to practice where technology is concerned. Technology is basically a drug. It's a drug for your brain. So, how much of that drug do you want to give your child is a question every parent will have to ask themselves. And how much impulse control does my child have? Please understand, and I would urge all parents to watch one experiment on YouTube. It's called the marshmallow experiment. And the marshmallow experiment basically tests a child's impulse control, that how much am I able to resist temptation, because I know if I resist it, I will get something better. Now, unless and until you don't breed children who have this attitude, the ability to resist something in the present so that they get something better in future, you won't get successful children. So it's very, very important that your marshmallow experiment is with your mobile phone, with your screens. How much is your child able to resist it? How much is your child able to stay away from it when you want your child to stay away from it? So you must have simple rules when it comes to screen times, that at a given time you cannot have screen time for more than 20 minutes. And if you've had your screen time for 20 minutes, then for the next 2 hours there will be no screen time. No screen time during eating or before
Correct.
sleeping.
Right.
No screen time when guests are around. Simple. Make a rule policy, and then everybody has to follow it. The
Yeah.
dad can't say, I have an important meeting, so I have to do it during food time. So you
That's
cannot have
important.
any excuses. you know yeah, that's very important, because children are imitators. They will do whatever you do, and
Yes.
you can't say my life is more important than yours. So it's very important that parents need to take this now real conscious decision. What do they want their child to be when they grow up? Hooked onto gadgets, which means hooked onto machines, or the ability to ward off a machine whenever they want to. Because you must have heard a few years back, there was the blue whale episode. Children were committing
Yes.
suicide because a computer was telling them to do that. So the more you get your children
Yes.
hooked onto computer voices and computer images, the child will not know the difference between human and computer. So don't let your child reach that
Right.
level.
Right. Right. No, it's absolutely important. And like you rightly said, even us parents need to follow those rules. It can't always be that we are the dictators. No, we have to follow it in order to, them also follow, because they are at the end of the day observers and the absorbers. So, yeah, so true. So, okay, so what is the future going to be like? I mean, none of us know. But, with the advent of AI and Chat GPT, so what are the teachers going to be like in future? Or what is the education going to be like in future?
Teachers will always be there. Kuch bhi lao tum. You will always need a mentor. And teachers
Yes,
who are mentors will always be there. But a teacher who thought that I am the knowledge base for children will become extinct. Because you are not a knowledge supplier for children. You are a mentor, you are a scaffolder, you are there to guide. Teachers need to become gurus. So if you see the definition of a guru is somebody who lets you learn, but guides you when you are confused, or guides you on the right path to learning.
yes,
That when a guru sees that you haven't learned enough, the guru will guide you. Why don't you have a look at this also, or why don't you have a look at this also? So teachers who basically thought they were the textbooks of a child, and I will teach you, those will definitely go out of a job. But teachers who know how to make the best of technology and yet keep children engaged and help them use their human intelligence. Because let's understand, in the world of artificial intelligence, there is a chance that children will stop using human intelligence, and schools and teachers will stop working on human intelligence. And you need to understand that one of the most important skills that we will require, in spite of AI or uska koi bhi baap bhi agar aayega, is communication. And
yes,
if we are not able to give instructions to an AI or a chat GPT, you won't get what you want.
correct.
And if you don't know how to check, then you will get all false results, and you may be dishing out false things without realizing, because you were so dependent on the artificial intelligence. So
Right.
the most important thing that we need is communication skills, and the next important is a checklist, which means am I able to check facts? Do I know right from wrong? Do I know pros and cons? So this is where the human intelligence is going to be required, and these are the basic skills that schools will have to focus on. They have to forget now about history, geography, and social science and marks and grades and bullshit that they are still doing. They will have to move on to more life skill based education.
Yes. Yes. No, it's just so important. I mean, wow. So thank you so much for, just straight away, honestly, just putting it out there and making it so simple for us to understand.
I am controversy's child, Amrutha.
No, 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 really, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Like the parents are going to love it. So, for especially one question I'm going to ask you before we go for our homeschooling community. What are
Hmm.
your thoughts on homeschooling, the homeschooling scenario in India or in general? What are your thoughts on homeschooling?
I think I think it's the future, and I was expecting it to become the future post COVID, but sadly everybody's gone back to their old ways after COVID. Uh, Sadly, the world is not as healthy as it used to be.
True.
The pandemic which struck us after 100 years, now even doctors know that more pandemics will strike us.
Yes,
Number two, when it comes to development of children, schools somewhere are letting down our children because they are not geared up to be learner centric. They
right,
are more subject centric. There are a few good schools who have managed to do this individualized learning kind of a bit. Our NEP also talks about it.
that's
So our
right.
NEP is also hopeful that schools will move towards individualized learning, learner centric environments. But we are so ingrained in our Macaulay education system that to remove it out, I mean parents think, oh, homeschooling, how can I do it? Why can't you do it? uh, it is possible. You have a great support group, and you don't have to do homeschooling by saying that, oh, I will have to teach all the subjects.
Correct.
You've got so much of support system. You got so much out there. It actually frees you much more than binds you, and it frees your child to this completely different way of looking at the world of learning, which is stress free, which is more focused on me rather than what I can achieve. It is more focused on what children learn rather than what children achieve.
Right.
And I think that is something that frees up a child's personality and mental health in such a beautiful way. uh, I feel more parents should talk to homeschoolers, especially homeschooling parents. I feel conferences must have one session always on homeschooling. So that reminds me, please keep yourself free on the 15th and 16th of February, either one
Okay.
of the days we'll be speaking at our national conference.
Okay. Thank you.
Because we have to make homeschooling a common norm spoken at educational conferences.
Right.
And schools have to stop worrying about, oh, homeschooling is our competition. It's nothing like that. In fact, I urge all schools, they should have a homeschooling wing, that if parents are
Wow.
not willing to send their children to that school, the school should support the homeschooling. I've been advocating it for a very long time.
Right.
And post COVID, I have become committed to it, that it has to be there. We must support homeschooling. In fact, I urge all the educational boards that you must support homeschooling children by giving them the opportunity to appear for your examinations without them having to enroll in a particular school. So there should be a homeschooling association board kind of a thing.
Wow.
Um, a lot of people may not like what I am speaking, but I feel there is enough in this world for both to coexist, schools and homeschool.
Right.
uh, Nobody is competing with the other. I always say there's enough of the pie for everybody.
Correct.
So I think homeschooling can be so beneficial to differently abled learners, to
Yes.
parents who are not able to, cope up with demands of schooling, or for children in remote areas who don't get the right schools. So I think homeschooling is the future.
Wow. Wow. That's like uh amazing. I mean, I don't have words, ma'am. This is superb. So
You
Home
know, I've
Schoolers
always been an
Association.
advocate. I've always advocated for homeschooling.
I know, right, right. You always have. So, wow, this is amazing. And on that amazing note, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of all the homeschoolers and all the parents. Thank you so much for accepting the invite and coming on this show and giving us such lovely insights and amazing perspectives to look at simple things, may it be boredom, may it be technology, may it be sitting up, standing up, may it be the alterations of voice and quiet. So, such tiny things to follow and such important takeaways for all of us. So, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for coming.
Pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you. So, take care and bye.
Bye.
I'll just end the recording.